Welcome to the 513 podcast. I'm Nick Nickel, aka Bengal Storm, and I have a really big guest with me, a huge fan, one of the best people at analyzing film and interacting with the fans. Blake Jewell, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing good. So let's get on with the questions. First one I have for you today is, what is your opinion on the Jesse Bates situation that's going down right now with his contract?
Yeah, I think they're just having issues, kind of agreeing on. It sounds like it's a guaranteed money issue, which I think that I think that we'll see how it kind of plays out. I think they put him on the franchise tag. He still has yet to sign that, and I don't think it's much concern right now because he's not going to be getting in any trouble for not showing up to any of these things. He's not losing any money. He's not going to get fined. So I think he just is not going to show up to the things that won't hurt him. And then when it comes time to, we'll see if he signs the franchise tag when it comes to that time. But I really do think he'll be playing week 1 against the Steelers. We'll just see how it goes with the upcoming training camp and all of that.
Yeah, because I've seen every scenario, but I think in the end, this will be a good chance for us to just calm down with the situation and see what he does. And if it's even a good chance for Daxton Hill to get first team reps, all of OTAs and training camp. So that'll be exciting to see. All right. So the next question I have for you is, you are one of the best people I know in like analyzing film and knowing the players and the strengths and weaknesses. Is there a player you think that should be talked about more with not just the NFL media, but just the Bengals fan base with what you see from them?
A player, you said?
Yeah, a player.
I think that one player that we didn't get to see much of last year because injury, Akeem Davis-Gaither. I think he's going to have a really strong year this year. Last year there was flashes before he got injured, and even his rookie year, the year before that, where we saw that he could be a really big linebacker for us and or for the Bengals. And then the other one is Jermaine Pratt. I think has been pretty underrated. He had the really big moment against the Raiders in the playoff game with the interception, but other than that, he's just been solid the whole time, or this last season. So I think that he's a player that kind of flies under the radar a little bit, that has been playing well. And I think, they got some good linebackers that are a little underrated. I think Logan Wilson's one of the best linebackers in the league. And then Pratt and Davis-Gaither are both very solid. And I think that, when they're both on the field this year, we're going to see a lot of good things out of those guys too.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Davis-Gaither and Pratt. I think they're both really underrated guys. I mean, my guy is another linebacker, Clay Johnson. No one gives him enough respect for what he did, especially that mainly game-saving tackle against the Titans on that 2-point conversion was probably one of the most underrated plays we had all season.
Yeah, Clay Johnson, he's pretty solid. He plays very hard. It's fun to watch him. And then, Joe Bocci is another guy, another linebacker. He's kind of in the same field as Clay Johnson, where they're both just, they're not going to start in more depth, but they're very capable. And if the time comes that they're not going to be giving up massive plays or anything like that, I think they're very solid and they're really good depth.
Yeah, Joe Bocci. I mean, I think the entire linebacker core in general is underrated. We do have Joe Bocci and Clay Johnson coming on soon for interviews, but yeah, I think nearly the entire linebacker core, every single player individually, you can say is underrated in some way. All right, so next question I have for you is, do you have any hot takes coming to the season? Any like under the radar player breaking out? Any rookies doing anything? You got anything for me?
I don't know if I have any super hot takes. I do have the Bengals winning 13 games, winning the division, which I don't think should be a hot take, but some people, they think they're going to regress somehow. But I got them winning 13 games, winning the division, and then at least one playoff game. We'll see where it goes from there. I think they're a good enough team to get back to what they did last year with that playoff win, and I think they're going to win the division. other than that, I don't really see any hot takes. I think they're gonna sweep the Browns this year. With Watson, you don't know when he's gonna play. They struggled against them last year, but I think you saw what they did against the Steelers and the Ravens last year. I think they'll do that to the Browns this year. I don't know if they'll be able to sweep the Ravens again, but the Browns are a team that I think that they'll be when it comes up against, they'll remember what happened last year and they'll be able to compete and win both those games this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think winning the division and having more wins than last year shouldn't be a hot take, but from how every other fan base in the NFL is treated, it's just acting like we're going to go back to being the 7-win team that we were like 27 in 2018 and not just have a down year. But yeah, I agree. I mean, they shouldn't be hot takes, but to the NFL, they are. Bryson, you got anything to say?
Like, do you have any sleeper candidates this year coming in for the Bengals, or anybody you think is going to break out that we're not really expecting to see?
I think Cam Sample's going to have a really good year. I don't see him, getting huge sack numbers, but I do think he's going to get some pressures. I think he's going to grade out pretty well. And ideally, we could see. Well, I wouldn't say ideally because you don't want Reader to get. You don't want anything to happen to Reader, but hopefully Shelvin can rotate in occasionally. Tyler Shelvin, the nose tackle, and hopefully he can get some more snaps this year. And I think that he could have a really solid year. You just don't want too many snaps, obviously, because that would mean that something happened to Reader. But I think he's gonna be pretty solid. And then another one I got is Tyson Anderson, the rookie. I think I do think Jesse Bates is going to play, but Anderson's going to get some snaps too. He's 5th-round pick, so he's not really on a lot of radars, but very good athlete. And I'm pretty confident that if he gets in there, he's going to play pretty good.
I really like Cam Sample last year. He was one of my underrated guys. He played a big role for him being his rookie year, 4th-round pick too.
Yeah, and I think his role kind of increased a little bit with the side coming back. I think there's going to be a little bit more of a rotation. We'll see what where they go on certain downs, but I think Sample's going to play a decent amount this year. He'll kind of be battling out with Khalil Kareem to see who gets the most snaps out of those two. And I think if Osai is good as we think he is, then he's going to kind of be that third edge rusher.
I feel like with Osai and Sample coming out, I feel like Khalid Kareem's time here is probably coming to an end, and then you have Carter too. I feel like just he's the odd man out.
Yeah, I think Carter's going to play kind of behind BJ Hill a little bit this year. He's a good enough athlete where I think as a rookie he can get in there and play. So we'll see what happens there. I think that they still do have a little bit of an issue with 3-tech, but ideally Carter can step in behind BJ Hill and get some meaningful snaps and play well.
Another question here. What are your expectations going in for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase year 2 together in the NFL? Really, Joe's 2.5 year, and then Jamar's coming off that offensive rookie of the year. What do you expect from those two?
Well, I think Joe Burrow is very capable of winning the MVP. I put a bet on it that he will win the MVP. I think he's, we saw what he did last year. He was certainly in the MVP conversation, probably third. And that was while he was getting sacked 70 times, had the worst offensive line in the league. And I think that now the offensive line's improved, he's got those weapons, and he should be able to go out and get an MVP. And I think with Jamar Chase, should see about similar numbers from last year. I don't really see, you could make the case that now that Burrow's not going to be sacked 70 times, he could have more numbers. But I think what we're going to see more is Chase is still, in my opinion, the top 2, top 3 receiver in the NFL. And I think that even though he's that good, since they have T. Higgins, they have Hayden Hurst, they have Tyler Boyd, Mixon, Evans, I think they're going to spread the ball out a little bit more, but Chase is still going to have a monster year, in my opinion. It's just not going to be, he's not the one guy that they have to go to, kind of like Devontae Adams was in Green Bay with Rodgers, to where he was clearly the number 1 target for the team. And if, in certain situations, you knew the ball was going to him, it doesn't need to be like that for the Bengals. They have talent all across the board, and they can spread it around. So I think that Chase is still going to put up a lot of numbers, but the other guys are going to get involved as well.
Yeah,
Nick,
what
did
you
you-
said there about spraying the ball on offense. I mean, even some lower guys like even Stanley Morgan, Hayden Hurst, Chris Evans, we're gonna find a way to give the ball to all of them. I do think Chase will have similar to even a bit worse than which, but that's not because he'll regress. It'll just be because everyone else is playing better.
I'm sorry, broke up a little bit. What did you say?
I was saying how, like, even like the smaller guys, Chris Evans, Stanley Morgan, Hayden Hurst, I think you're right with that. That with Jamar Chase, he'll have similar to worse numbers, not because of like his regression, but just because of how much better everyone will be with another year of experience in this offense and how good Hayden Hurst is and breakout seasons. So a lot of weapons for Burrow.
Yeah, he's got a lot of options this year. I think that I don't know if we'll see better numbers from Hayden Hurst than CJ Uzama was, but I think that Hurst is, he's a really good player. And I think they might have even got an upgrade there. Chris Evans, we could see a little bit of a more increased role. I would like to see. I don't know what they'll do. They really like Samandre Perine, but I think Chris Evans is a lot more capable as a receiver out of the backfield. And another thing, I'd love to see if they could get Joe Mixon involved more in the pass game. They did it a little bit last year, and he's very good at it. So hopefully this year they can get him, going a little bit more. And then you mentioned Stanley Morgan. I think he's one of the best special teams players in the league. So I think he's going to be predominantly special teams. But if he gets out on the field, Burrow's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He'll find a way to get him the ball as well. So they got a lot of options on the bottom of the depth chart guys that, if the time comes, I think they are capable and they can make plays.
I feel like P. Ryan's role on the team right now is just like the true backup running back because Chris Evans is another three down back. Like he's not gonna replace Mixon if he goes down. P. Ryan will. That's the only reason he's on the team. Chris Evans is more of the third down back where he comes in and is a receiver. I mean, I know Mixon can receive too, but Chris Evans showed what he could do last year, and I feel like he deserves that spot more than anything. And give Mixon a rest.
Yeah, I think we'll kind of see how it goes with kind of preseason, what they think. I think we'll know in training camp preseason who they like better between P. Ryan and Evans. I think obviously last year it was P. Ryan. They trusted him in the Super Bowl in 3rd and 1, but I think Evans is he's obviously younger, and I think he's going to be just a little bit more capable on about everything. He's not really a power guy, but he's a solid blocker. He can receive. I think obviously Mixon is the number 1 guy, but Evans is going to have a chance to get that role as the number 2.
He could take more of that Geo role when Mixon got here and, stay in the third downs packages.
All right, so the final question I have for you is what's the best like training camp position that you're excited to see in training camp this year?
Well, I honestly think it might be punter because you got Huber who's been there for a long time, and then you got Crispin too. So I think that'll be pretty exciting to see what happens there. And a lot of the good thing about it is, in years past there was a lot of these position battles where you didn't know who was even going to be the starter, and now it's kind of more who's going to make the roster because the Bengals have a much better roster as a whole. They have guys that are locked in at starter. It's not really a competition anymore. These guys. How good they are. Guys like T. Higgins and just guys that they aren't the number 1 guy at that position. Like Von Bell at safety, where Jesse Bates is the star. But Von Bell's set in stone. He's going to be the strong safety over there. So I think that there's a lot of guys like that where years ago there was issues where you didn't even know who the 2 safeties were going to be going into the season. You didn't know who was going to play linebacker. You were still hoping they could sign a starter in like July, and I don't think that's an issue anymore. You already know who the starters are. So most of the battles are kind of lower the depth who will make the roster, which I think is a great sign for how good this team is.
Yeah, for me, the biggest position that I like to see is the punt returner position. I mean, the way things look, there's this one play they really like. I believe his name's Kwame Lassiter, but he's been doing punt returns, and I think he has a good chance at winning that from the way he's been getting snaps at wide receiver. They want to give him a role somehow, but yeah, I think what you're saying is there's not many position battles, and that's a good thing because we have the team set in stone. We brought in a lot of people back from last year's Super Bowl run, so yeah.
I really liked Trent Taylor at punt returner last year. I thought he did a solid job. And then I did
Oh,
also
yeah.
like Chris Evans at that kick return too, but it kind of seems like Brandon Wilson will get the shot again, but he's very injury prone.
Yeah, I think Trent Taylor's more the reliable option. I think it was Darren Simmons. He said something about how he wanted a guy that's going to scare the other team's special teams coordinator, someone real talented, could take it to the house. Trent Taylor, I don't think is really bad, but he's going to catch it. He's going to go. He's going to run forward. I think some of the issues, he had Darius Phillips last year. He couldn't really catch it very well, and then years past, I mean, I think Pac-Man Jones is a really good example of what they want. He's gonna, if you remember him, he wasn't always consistent, but there were times where he got the ball and you just kind of knew he was going to have a bigger turn. And that's kind of more of what they want there. Trent Taylor's he's a secure option. He's going to catch the ball and he's going to get you some yards. So I think if they can't really find that guy that, could take it to the house at any time, they'll just go with the secure option with Trent Taylor.
All right, one last question for you here, Blake. Tyler Boyd, he's coming into it's not his last contract year, I don't think. I think he's got one more after this. What do you expect from him as he wraps up potentially his time with the Bengals, as they might be looking elsewhere soon?
I think we're going to see what we always see from him. He's just super consistent. He had that drop in the Super Bowl, I think, but other than that, I don't think he had a drop all year. He's a very reliable option out of the slot. He's not really, he doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not a super impressive route runner, but he gets the job done. I think that's something that they really like for Joe Burrow to have. He's got Chase, who's the big deep threat. He's got T. Higgins, who's very good as a possession wide receiver. But Tyler Boyd's kind of the safety valve where, if all else fails, you can probably find Tyler Boyd for 5-6 yards. And I think that's what they're going to keep doing. I'd be interested to see how it works out contract-wise. He's getting close to his 30, so we'll kind of see what happens there. I think most of the money is going to be going to Higgins and Chase, but if they can work out a way to keep Tyler Boyd on for another 2 years when his contract runs up, that wouldn't really surprise me, just based on how reliable he is out of the slot. It's hard to find, and other teams are kind of looking for this super talent out of the slot, these super fast guys that they can get the ball and they can get a ton of yards after the catch. But Tyler Boyd is really what they need with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, just someone that's reliable, just the third option that what you're getting.
Well, it seems like he's done a really good job mentoring these guys. Higgins doing what Higgins does, and Jamar obviously becoming one of the best receivers in the league. So I think he's done a good job in that department as well. Blake, we thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on. Do you have any final thoughts?
That's about it. Thanks for having me.
Any final questions, Nick?
No, that's it.
All right.
Welcome back to the 513 podcast. I'm Bengals Swim, aka Nick Nickel. I'm here with Brother Churro, aka Nick as well. We have a very special guest with us today. One of the biggest Bengals fans you'll see, will be the loudest in the crowd at any game. If he goes into a Twitter space, any fan base that he's with will be dead within 5 minutes. Introducing Zim WhoDey. How are you, Zim?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Bryson?
I'm doing good. All right, so let's already start the questions.
Or do you go by Storm?
Storm, Nick,
Okay.
It's whatever. All right.
Okay,
So
right. Got you, Storm. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just regular day, chilling at the house, just trying to get prepared for the week coming up. Nothing major.
All right, so let's start off the questions. There's a lot of players that have made a huge jump last year, whether it's like Jermaine Pratt or Cheeto Awuzie. Who do you think will make that type of jump, be the breakout player to say for us next season?
For me, I'm thinking maybe Cam Taylor-Britt because the opportunity of
Yeah.
him possibly winning that outside corner spot, and then let's say he does do it, or he's a big role in it, he would like jump out and emerge like out of nowhere, so to speak. Also, I think another person to look at, well, I got two people, Zakeem Davis-Gaither. I think him coming back fully healthy, pretty much going into a
Yep.
contract year with a lot to prove. I just think that this is the year that he's got to complete the whole season. So we kind of have that look at him. And then the last one is going to be Joseph Osai, because Osai missed in the last season. High hopes. He'll have opportunities given into him. A lot of third down packages. We'll see him early on. So I just think that he has the potential to just jump on the scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I could say. I mean, I love Cam Taylor-Britt. I was jumping excited when he got announced. I think he has a very good chance of winning that outside corner spot next to Cheeto. Cheryl, what's your first question you have?
All right, so the first question I have for Zim is, how long have you known Ace Boogie, and what made you create the Cincinnati and Orange is the New Black podcast?
Oh, good question. So I know Ace for at least like 4 years, met him through Instagram. I used to do a lot of stuff on Instagram, and I just got on Twitter probably like 2 years ago, but I pretty much made a name for myself on Instagram. We had these things called players only meetings where we just talk to people, do like a live stream on there, and Ace came in there one night, and so I met him then. We started at the Orange is the New Black because we merged together, wanted to figure out a way to get, people enthusiastic about the team, to, share my thoughts through a different, perspective and a different outlet so people can get that information. Cincy Jungle had picked this up as soon as we did like our first or second show. They were calling to, get us to be a part of their network. And then recently we just started up our own podcast network called Cincinnati, where we've added some new acts on there this week. So we're pretty much giving people like an everyday experience where they'll be able to listen to Cincinnati like pods like all throughout the week. So it won't be just me and Ace. It'll be some of our other shows with my man Garrett. He's got a show called The New Wincy, and then we got another act, Jake and Mon, who do the Bengals Pulse. And then my other guy, Eric, is going to be doing his. Ironically enough, his is called 513 Cincinnati or something. Yeah, that's the name of his. So we got some different acts coming up, and that's why we started it, just to give people more information. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, me myself, one of the huge reasons we decided to make this podcast was inspired by you guys. Exactly. But yeah, I liked what you guys do. I mean,
Absolutely.
All right. So next question. All the news that came out with Jesse Bates, he doesn't want to sign his franchise tag. He's not coming to OTAs, probably not coming to training camp. What do you think we should do with him? Trade him, let him go, try to re-sign him for cheap? What's your idea with that?
I think it's two different ways I think this could play out. For me, I don't really have a side in this whole thing. I feel like, I kind of remain neutral because I understand the business aspect of it with the Bengals standpoint, and then the other side for Jesse's standpoint, it is risky for him to play on this franchise tag. But I just know two things are going to happen. I think if the Bengals got an offer for a player-for-player trade, then I think that they should definitely take a look at it. The player would have to be like a left guard or like an elite corner or something like that. That's probably like in the second or third year of their contract. Somebody not somebody coming out of their contract, where the Bengals could take on a brand new contract that was like $8 million or less for elite talent. And that will be really hard. You had to go pluck it from like a team like the Texans or something like that, or a team that really just doesn't have like a chance this upcoming season. And so I haven't really looked at a lot of rosters, but that's one way. Because the other way, a second round pick, if you would have did that, you would have had to do that before the draft for it to have like real value. To say I'm gonna give you a second round pick for Jesse Bates and I don't get it till the following year, but yet you get to use Jesse Bates this year, it makes it so that I don't think that that's possible. So then the last thing is, I just think that Jesse Bates is just leveraging what he has to try to get the conversations about, him playing started back up again. But the one thing is, because he's on a franchise tag and he's about to get paid 12.9 or 13 million, that's more money than he's made in all of his years with the Bengals. At the end of the day, he doesn't have the leverage to sit the whole entire season. So I believe that he'll be able to come out there at some point. He probably won't be happy, probably miss a couple of different things, and just end up playing the rest of the season. At the end of the season, we say peace out to Jesse, and now Dax Hill is 100% in the role. That's the most logical way for me to think of it. I just think I don't see him as somebody that will sit out. Usually guys that sit out a little bit more boisterous, really already have extreme amount of income already sitting there, usually like a quarterback or a cornerback position. For a safety to sit out with $13 million on the table just seems really drastic, really odd for somebody that's still working out, still communicating with Bengals players, still liking stuff on Instagram that's Cincinnati related. I just think that the situation is getting kind of blown up a little bit. This is what happens when any player goes on a franchise tag.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of ways to go. I saw something on Twitter actually a few days ago of a mock trade that we get Isaiah Simmons and Andy Isabella for Jesse Bates and like a 5th-round pick. But yeah, I definitely could just see us. I can
That's
definitely see him
interesting.
signing
That's a
that
very
tag.
interesting one.
I can see him signing that tag by like July, August, and coming in. But no matter what, I feel like him holding out is going to have a more expanded role for Dax.
I think cut out. I wasn't sure, but yeah, like expand the role for Dax Hill. Dax Hill will be available to. I think in an odd way too, it's good for Dax Hill's development because right now he's getting first team reps in practice. It'll help build him up and know where to be.
Heck yeah, man. And so the second question that I have for you, Zim, is how was your experience of the Bengals going to the Super Bowl for the first time in our lifetimes and actually in person out in Los Angeles? I bet that was a quite the experience, man.
Man, it was one of the greatest days of my life up until the clock hit 0.
Right.
I think about it a lot. I wish I didn't think about it a lot, but I do think about it a lot. It was just a really magical day. I think about all the different things that happened during that day, all the pictures I took, and I'm always really, really happy for it. It is something, unfortunately, I think I'll kind of, look at that game for the rest of my life and be like, damn, like, my life would be different if we would have won that game. I really, truly believe that. Like, even right before, I was going to rush the field. I was going to go to the family and friends party, all these different things, like in my mind, how I had it planned out. They just didn't happen, and everything happens for a reason. So I just think it's like it's a weird, bittersweet type of moment where I'll always have really, really good thoughts on it. And I'll also have some other thoughts where I just live with like a little bit of regret. Like, oh man, I wish they would have just did this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, and I was honestly about in the same boat as you. Obviously, after a few days passed, all that stuff came up online about, all the possibilities that could have happened. And if Joe Burrow just had, 2 or 3 more seconds to throw that ball, man, I'm about in the same boat. So I think about that stuff all the time too, honestly, man.
Yeah, I wish I could just move on. Joe was on the Note podcast, he said it a couple of times. It's just like, I moved on. And you know what was so crazy? Right after the game, I took it pretty easy. I was fine. Like I walked out and I remember, I had to go to the spaces and hear the Rams people talk trash to me and all that stuff like that. That type of stuff doesn't really bother me. I remember I went to the beach though the next day and then it started hitting me like, oh, dang, we did lose the game. And then I would go watch the game and stuff because I'm a little weird. So I watched the game a couple of times and just broke it down and stuff for like a couple of weeks. And I didn't really think too much of it. But then, I don't know, over the last month, just people kind of bringing it up a little bit more. I have thought about it a lot more than what I ever did. I really moved on from it really quick as soon as the game was over. I mean, like behind the scenes, I was just talking to the players, and I just had a lot planned. I had a table, I think about this. It sounds really weird, but I just had this whole thing planned out in my mind. I never thought we were going to lose that game. I really didn't. I know that sounds weird because I guess we were the underdogs. I did not think. One thing that I think about too though.
Hey man.
I hate the fact, and I remember I was at the bar with Joe Burrow's dad. This is weird. One of the Kansas City games. We were sitting there, we were watching the Rams game and stuff. And he made a couple comments about it. This is Joe Burrow's dad. He made a couple comments and just, I could tell he had like a funny, feeling about it, maybe, I guess, about the Rams winning. But, me and him joked about it, and we were like, man, you know what? Like, F the Rams, let's go do it. We're going to go win. But still, I just had a feeling when I remember when they lost that game, that had we played the 49ers, I just felt like everything was set up for like a redemption story where where the Bengals lost to Joe Montana. Everything was like set up. Yeah. We had already played the 49ers. We already knew what they did well. I felt like it would have been an easy matchup and almost a blowout. And when I saw that the Rams had won, it changed my whole night. Like I wasn't scared or anything like that. I was like, man, the Bengals are still a better team. But I just was like, that's a way better matchup than that's a better matchup for them than if the 49ers had won. I really thought that we matched up really well, and I think we win that game by double digits.
All right, so the next question I have is, with all the new guys we got, the 5 free agents, the 6 draft picks, and the 14 undrafted free agents, which guy do you think is your favorite person we brought in? Which one do you think will make the biggest impact for us next season?
Out of all just rookies, period, and undrafted?
Out of any player, free agent is your favorite free agent.
La'el Collins, without a doubt.
Yes.
Just watching him at practice, watching everything that's going on, just the feeling of like, okay, Joe Burrow actually has protection. Joe Burrow really has a real deal dude in front of him. And, hope everything goes well with La'el Collins, because I know he has had some little off the field stuff here and there. But if he could just stay healthy, just do what he does, I don't think the Bengals have had a right tackle like that since Willie Anderson. It's been decades, bro. So that is huge, not only just for the season, but just for our history. And how I feel about I think it'll change a lot of people on offensive line play, period. I think people will kind of put more value to it and get the trenches right if this goes well, because they'll always have that point in time where they can look back and say, what changed everything, where Bengals always had really good offensive lines, when that year that they brought in La'el Collins, Kappa, and Teddy Football. I just think that this is a moment in history that people will remember if everything goes as planned. But he's a dominant force, and that's something that Bengals generally haven't had. Jonah Williams is a very, very methodical, sound technique type of guy, but he's not a freaky athlete that I just think changes the way that you block, period.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we revamped that offensive line in a way that even some dreams that I've had wouldn't even compare to that. But yeah, I think we rebuilt it well, and I think La'el Collins may have an all-pro type season if all works out for him this season. Churro?
Well, speaking about the offensive line, as a whole, how confident do you feel about the new offensive line?
I feel really good about the offensive line, where if they just get this left guard position narrowed down, then I feel really, really good. I know that football, different things happen, injuries happen, different, there's always that in the back of my mind too. But if everything goes as planned, I think you'll see an MVP season from Joe Burrow. You'll also see another really deep Super Bowl run, if not a Super Bowl win this time. If everybody just stays healthy and they, just do what they're supposed to. I want the fan base to kind of understand that no matter what, Joe Burrow is going to be one of those quarterbacks that probably get sacked more than the average quarterback. So people really, if they really, really want answers, they would have to like kind of watch, film on different things where Joe Burrow is going to extend plays and he's going to give you the opportunity to make plays that other quarterbacks can't. But the downside of it is like he might get 2 sacks a game, whereas another quarterback probably wouldn't take it. Like if a game ends with 4 or 5 sacks this upcoming year, 2 or 3 of them probably on Joe with a really good offensive line. Because the only thing that you want from your offensive line, honestly, is just to play mistake-free football and give your quarterback a decent chance to run the play. If he's able to do that, then generally you won't have that many sacks. But Joe Burrow is a rare entity. The reason why his plays have so much success is because he extends them. And the downside of it, out of 20 snaps, you got to think you extend 20 of them. 2 of them, a guy's going to get another shot at you. So you might see sacks from him, but that doesn't mean the offensive line is bad, I guess is my point.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because I remember.
Think about the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I remember during the Titans game, there was like 2 to 3 of those 7 sacks that, honestly, I was thinking, yeah, this one's on Burrow. I mean, it was on a 3rd down and outside of the territory, but it's good to see. I mean, I'd rather take 2 sacks in a game and have Burrow create 20 plays out of 20 of those 22 plays that he get, but I take 2 sacks and just have 0 sacks, but a bunch of bad throws and incompletions because he didn't try to extend it.
Yeah, man. And I also feel like you also have to take Joe Mixon into consideration too. I mean, he's got a completely new revamped offensive line, and I really could see him, putting up at least 1,500 yards this season. I mean, I really feel like this is the season where Joe Mixon's just going to pop off and show us who he really could possibly be, man. He's going to show his full potential.
All right, so the last question I have for you is, what are your hot takes for this season? Like anything with the record, a game, a player? What's the biggest hot take you have with the Bengals this season?
Oh, okay. What I was gonna say, Burrow to Chiro. For me, I agree with what you were saying too. I just didn't want to get talking at the same time as Storm. If I was like, yeah, okay, then we would have been like, but I agree with what you were saying about Joe Mixon. I'm sorry, but as far as a hot take, I think I might have said my hot take. I just feel like Joe Burrow's gonna be an MVP whether I win the Super Bowl or not. Like I just feel like Joe Burrow's gonna be the MVP.
Yeah.
There was a really good argument that he should have been an MVP this past season. To me, when you tell that to people that don't watch the Bengals, they think that sounds crazy. But there's not a category that Joe Burrow didn't lead in. Like honestly, and then if you think about it, he's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. He leads in yards per attempt. Completion percentage he led in yards he was like 4th or 5th. And you got to think he set one game, and it was 4th in yards, and he didn't even play a full. This is one season off of an ACL, and was on a 25 pitch count at the beginning of the season, and he still came in like 4th in yards, and he still led it with completion percentage and all these different things. He still was in the top 5 with like touchdowns as well. Like that's insane with that line. That's insane. And if you give him a line, and now you're giving them the same weapons, and now I can actually run full plays instead of just go routes, it's going to be very, very crazy.
It's going to be crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any other way. Like, to me, unless something unforeseen just happens, like as it stands, leaving off from last year, I just think they're going to take it up to a whole nother notch. Like, I don't think people are ready for it. I really don't.
I agree
but last season I remember making hot takes that Trey Hendrickson would have been a Pro Bowl defensive end and Quinton Spain would have been the most underrated player we'd have that season. And Trey was a Pro Bowler and Quinton, we all want him back. And I can definitely see us also having Joe Burrow be an MVP candidate, or even the MVP winner next season.
Do you think that they will bring Spain back after they drafted Volster? I just don't see where Spain really fits in anymore. That's the thing.
It's tough to. I mean, I definitely want Spain back. He seems like one of the best people in the locker room, but I love Cordell Volson. He took number 67. I think he could be a Quentin Spain replacement down the line, but I would
See,
still love to bring him
I feel
back.
like they're going to give him an opportunity to start right now, and Carmen would be the backup. And now you don't really have. And see, that's why early in the pod, I talked about left guard. Like, it's not really that sure if you're going to tell me like this line is like top 10, top 12. You have that uncertainty at one position, and dancing. I mean, offensive line play. I'm gonna say that. Offensive line play is a lot like dancing. It's like a routine. If one person is off, it messes up everything. I think Bolson has a chance to start though, bro. And I think Carmen
Open competition.
yeah, it's an open competition. Bolson's already with the twos in practice. If Carmen is any bit of like what he was last year, where it was kind of inconsistent, and Bolson doesn't show those inconsistencies when we get to preseason and stuff, I think you'll have a real chance to start. And then now that's what I'm saying. Where would you even put Spain? Because now you don't really your backup tackles are Prince and Deontay Smith now. And then your backup center is Trey Hill, and then your backup, guard is I hate to say that, with Adeniji, I guess would be. So I guess it does have a little bit of room for him to come in at some point if Spain wanted. I just don't see how that. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. Like, I don't think he would want to come into a position where he's guaranteed, where he's just a backup guard. But then again, if he isn't signed, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Jero, any more questions you got?
I got two more here. So the fourth question I have for you, Zim, is what is your record prediction for the 2022-2023 season?
I am very superstitious about this stuff. For me, I never say this. I never say that part. I can't do that. Can I just tell you that I just think that
Okay.
I honestly think that the Bengals are going to be playing the Bucks for the Super Bowl.
Yes.
In Arizona. I really feel like that's going to be the game. I look at all the stuff that people did. Like, I don't have a prediction on the record, but I just look at what everybody else did. A lot of people kind of fix some holes. I think the Bills, they fill one of their main holes with, Elam. But what if Elam isn't Elam? Like, now I'm just thinking, like, who else is that? I know the Chargers did some things, but they're bringing in older guys. Is Khalil Mack, is that a name, or is he really still productive? Just like Von Miller for the Bills, is that a name, or is he really still productive like what Osai could possibly be? And I always go with youth, and I just look at everything that happened around the Bengals in the offseason. With the exception maybe the Broncos, I think the Broncos probably made the realest upgrade that they could because they already had a real good defense. Some of the other ones, I just feel like they're fool's gold in an experience that Bengals added. I don't know their record, but I just feel like they are a legit Super Bowl contender.
I couldn't agree more, Zim.
And you got one more, right?
Yeah, I got one more. Do you have one, Storm?
No, that's all I got.
Okay, all right. So the last question that I must know, man. Are you a fan of either Skyline Chili or Gold Star?
Ooh, that is a tough one. All right, let me say this. I love Cincinnati to death. Gold Star and Skyline, I'm not the biggest fan of, because where I'm from, DC, right, and our chili is made very, very, very different. I don't think any of them are nasty, like when you talk about Skyline or Gold Star, but it's just really different, and it's sweet and stuff, and I'm not used to chili being sweet. So but if I had to answer the question, I'm gonna say Skyline.
Skyline,
but
awesome.
yeah, like it makes the bread so wet and stuff so quick. Like, man, I'm gonna tell y'all, like, you gotta use a heftier dog. Like, the bun, you gotta use a different bun, and you gotta, like, man, I don't know. Like, I just wish it. All right, so if anybody's listening to this and they've ever been to DC, you gotta go to this place called Ben's Chili Bowl. It's like our Skyline, There's only like 2 of them. They only had one, but they're like, this is where if you're famous, you know, like Michael Jordan, Bill Cosby, all have like a seat there or whatever. But when you go there, like they cook the half smoked, so they cook the hot dogs like right there in front of you on the grill. They're not boiled. You know, like it's just really different. The chili is like thicker. I don't want this to be like a long conversation. I don't think any of those are bad, but like what I consider like the way my mom makes chili and stuff is really, really different.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to Skyline or Gold Star because I live in Wisconsin, so I can't throw my hat in the ring. But
Oh,
I find it funny just listening to these debates about chili.
It's great.
I love chili on, you know, like I like hot dogs too, but I like hash smokes better. Like beef hash smokes, like I really like those. Or like a bratwurst or whatever, like where it's so fat and it, you know, just busts because it's on the grill and it got so hot. Skyline and Gold Star are not like that. It's not like that. It's just like it's like a boil. It's boiled, and I don't really like. I like shit on the grill. You know, like I don't know, different.
I got you.
Which one is better? You must like one of them for you to ask.
And honestly, I like both, but if I had to go with it, I'd probably have to choose Skyline. And probably my favorite menu item would probably be like the Coney dog with extra cheese. Gotta have that cheese on it, man. You just gotta have it.
Right. I like the cheese. I like that shredded cheese.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like? I don't like you know, like melted popcorn cheese, like the cheese from like a movie theater, like that thick nacho cheese stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
So I do like the, you know, like that the cheese you're talking about, the shredded one, like to throw it over top of it and then let it melt on its own. I really do like
I
that.
love it. Oh, it's good, man. Y'all are making me hungry, man.
Man, I could talk about food forever, bro. Like I always talk about it. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I want people. I think I never said that on a pod, or I never said that openly because I know people will absolutely destroy me. So hopefully, not too many people just heard that.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous to give my prediction away, honestly, on the other podcast that we have because you honestly, you never know. So it's like, oh man, it's like, do I go with this or do I go with that? It's like it's hard.
Look, I literally kill people online, like on debates and stuff. I took like a week or two. I'm gonna take a couple of weeks off. I'm actually out of town, but I'm gonna take some time, and I'm gonna come back and when I do a debate and stuff, I'll just make sure I stay away from chili questions. But other than that, I always kill people that give their record predictions. Like I always like because it always seems crazy to me. So like even if I said 12 games right now, you know, to an opposing team like the Ravens or somebody like that, they would be like, "What? 12 games? Like, what do you barely won 10 last year?" You know, if you tell somebody like we were in one of those spaces and the Browns dude was like, "Man, we're gonna win like 13, 14 games," and we were like, "How?" Well, he was like, "Well, we won 10." And now we added Deshaun Watson, or he said like we won 9. So it's just like this. It either sounds really, really crazy to somebody. If it sounds normal to you, it always sounds crazy to somebody else. I don't know why. I don't know why it's like that, but those record predictions are just really weird.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for today for you, Zim. Thank you for coming on, and
yeah, man, it was really nice having you on the show, buddy. I appreciate that you came in today.
No problem, man. Anytime, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm so sorry I'm a little delayed, but
oh, no worries.
Everything I think is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, thanks for having you on.